Abuse is happening in the church far too often.
It was nearly 20 years ago. It continued far too long. It involved one person, and there's been no other, nor any other situation of unbecoming conduct for the last 20 years. I will not use the Bible to defend, protect, and deflect my past sin. I have no defense. I committed the adultery.
Yeah, man, that is hard to hear. It's hard to listen to.
In accordance with our church bylaws, I'm stepping aside, stepping down from ministry responsibilities, and have committed to the Lord and now to you that I will submit to the process and recommendations of this board.
But unfortunately, this clip gets worse. The accused victim, she's there, and she confronts the pastor in front of the entire congregation, and she speaks her piece. Check it out.
Let's talk.
For 27 years, I lived in a prison. It was not 20 years. I lived in a prison of lies and shame. Lying to protect the Lowe family. For years, I thought I was a horrible person having suicidal thoughts, not realizing what had been truly done to me.
That is absolutely heartbreaking, man. I just don't understand how someone can just abuse and take advantage of someone like that.
I was a victim, and I would still be in a prison if my brother, and many of you know him, Edgar Wolf, had not approached me just 2 weeks ago with what he had seen as a teenager that bothered him all these years. His pastor in bed with his younger sister, a t-shirt and underwear on.
This must stop. This is egregious. It's heartbreaking. And quite frankly, it angers me with godly anger to hear about these instances of abuse. Listen, if you're going to a church, if you want to find a good solid church, here's 3 things you need to be aware of when you're going to a church to hopefully, prayerfully prevent or not get caught up in some of these things. Number 1, avoid churches that are not transparent about things in the congregation, things going on in leadership, financial reports, stuff like that. Even with the pastor, where he lives, what he does, like if those things are hidden from the congregation, hidden from you, then you might want to avoid that church.
People knew but were too afraid to come forward, and they have now. The lies and the manipulation have to stop. I was a prisoner, and you kept me in your prison. I'm a prisoner no longer. I was just 16 when you took my virginity on your office floor.
It boggles my mind that a pastor can do those types of things to a 16-year-old woman, 16-year-old girl. This is just egregious. And the fact that he hid this, minimized it when speaking to his congregation, this just shows a lack of integrity. If you're hiding things, if you're doing things in secret, it will come to light. Luke 8:17 says, "For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light." Bottom line, if the leadership is being secretive or, esoteric in different ways, those things will eventually come to light. And when they do come to light, when those hidden things are coming to light, it's going to have a lot of collateral damage because so many people have invested so much into the church. And we see this all the time with church leaders having moral failures, falling, and the church collapses. Don't be a part of a church that's not transparent. And a church with questionable behavior, inappropriate comments, lewd jokes in the pulpit. Those things are red flags. Red flags. Think about Mark Driscoll and some of his behavior.
How dare you? Who in the hell do you think you are?
Avoid those type of churches with wild and extreme viewpoints. And be aware of churches with a lack of women leadership. Now, this is not to say that women can be pastors or elders or bishops. That's crystal clear in Scripture, 1 Timothy chapter 3. But I'm just talking about in terms of just as being teachers, influencers, leaders, counselors, advisors, people who are administrators. Women can operate in so many ways within the church. If there are no women in leadership, there are no women leading small groups, leading women's ministries, leading children's church, being counselors to women, speaking and giving announcements and being in the forefront of the church, singing, having a voice that really matters. If you don't see that, and say you see an overwhelmingly male-dominated church where all of the roles are dominated by men, it's a higher likelihood that abuse will happen in those churches, and the victims will be silenced in those churches because those women don't have a voice or representation in that church.
My wife is not just adultery, it's another level when it's a teenager. And I will not let this man talk about my wife like that. It happened for 9 years. When she was 15, 16, the sexual grooming started. And it lasted until she met me and we started dating. This is the truth. This was Bobby's covenant of purity ring, which she wore while this man had sex with her.
I truly pray for this woman. I'm sure she has so much trauma from this situation. I pray for healing and restoration, and I pray that her family will stay together, and I pray that God vindicates her and that this individual be truly held accountable and not ever pastor again. We must stand for those who can't stand themselves and speak for those who don't have a voice. We must speak for them. If you enjoyed this video and you want more content like this, do me a favor and subscribe to this channel. Like this video. I'll be back next week with another video. This is Pastor Frederick. This is About a Book. Peace.